in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now live.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from the campus of Westfield State University, this is 89.5 FM, WSKB, Westfield. Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Westfield Bank. For more than 160 years, Westfield Bank has been an important community presence and commercial leader in the Pioneer Valley, with convenient full banking services in Westfield, West Springfield, East Longmeadow, Agawam, Feeding Hills, Springfield, Southwick, as well as Enfield and Granby, Connecticut. Visit us on the web at westfieldbank.org.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 6:01. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and I am in the studio this morning with the chairman of the board, producer Pete Coles. How you doing there, Pete?
Good morning. I'm here.
You're here.
Present.
You had a lot of stuff going on yesterday, and I apologize that our Zoom meeting completely got
that happens.
completely fizzled. I was able to get one of the people.
Did you get the information you needed?
I did get the information I needed. We are trying
all that
to
matters.
iron things out and sort things out, and it is a task. But
Yeah.
anyway, thank you for trying to help us. And how did your other meetings go yesterday? Because you had a big lineup.
Fire went well. Kenny helped me out
Right.
on that one because it's hard for me to be in two places at once. Even though I'm a big, jolly guy, I cannot be in two places at once. I cannot just split
Yeah.
down the middle and go. So we had
that
an
goes.
in-person fire commission meeting at Fire Station 2
Okay.
down Little River Road. So Kenny came down there. I got it set up, got it going, waited for like the first 10 minutes, got him through that. And then I drove home to get ready for the police commission meeting where they hired 7 reserve officers.
Oh, wow.
We had to interview 11 candidates. So
Wow.
that took some time.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
And then we had conservation, which was done by 9 o'clock. It was only 2 hours long. 9:30. 2
Good.
hours long.
Yeah.
Normally it's like 10 or 11.
Yes. I
So-
know you were anticipating it was going to be a late night. So
right.
I'm
So
glad
it's
it
still
was not.
semi-late
Yeah.
because usually I'm in bed by 9:30.
Yeah. Well, yes.
Because I'm up at 4.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
I know. I mean,
So
I
it
do it
wasn't
once
too
a
bad.
week. You do it every day. So I
Yeah.
get it. I totally understand.
I've learned how to take naps. I seriously mean that. And people are like, oh,
Yeah.
all right. Well, it's other than that, or I work a 14-hour day.
Yes. Right. I totally understand that too.
I'm trying to cut it to 12
Yeah.
or 10.
I'm right there with you, Pete.
I could do 10.
I was returning phone calls last night at like 6:30, and because people needed medical equipment, so it was just one of those days. So there I was, and I called someone, and she said, "Oh my goodness, you're working late." I had no idea. I didn't even know what time it was. I looked at the clock. I said, "Oh my gosh, it's 20 after 6." I said, if I get out of here before 7:30, I'll be thrilled. I mean, that'd be
Gary
great.
is a saint. I'm telling you right now.
Gary is a saint. I
That
know.
he understands your personality and he
does.
goes with the flow.
He does. He's wonderful. And then not only that, Pete, then when I get home, he has to listen to me vent for 10 to 15 minutes. That's all I allow myself because
Yes.
he gets that glazed over look in his eyes, because of all the frustrations. So, for the last 6 weeks, it's been vaccine. Every night, I go home and I vent
Sure.
about all the frustrations, which, by the way, it's really an interesting thing when you're in this kind of a position. So I stop at the senior center, as you know, before I come into the radio show, and I always, bring the papers in, which are thrown out on the front porch there. So pull it in, open up the Westfield News, and it's it's a surprise when you see yourself on the front page, with a big headline.
What'd you make news for? Oh, that happens
yeah.
to me a lot lately because
I-
Kenny's like, you're in the paper again.
I know. And it's one thing, it's one thing we often, just so the viewing public knows, like, I know you're in the same boat, Pete. We often will get a phone call from one of the reporters at the Westfield News, asking for a comment, or I just wanted to get some information. And you don't know if that's going to be part of a big story and you're just quoted, which is actually what I thought was going to happen here, or is it going to be a headline with your picture that takes up half the front page, which is actually what happened today. It was about the vaccine, just about the vaccination.
Oh, see, half the time I don't even get called.
Oh,
It's
oh.
just something that happens in council or one of the committees
Okay,
or something
got you.
like
Yeah,
that. So they'll
understood.
throw my
Okay.
picture in there.
Yeah.
They'll be like,
Okay.
I get a call. Hey, your picture's in the paper.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay.
Well, I need to put out this fire because I did have a chance to read the article about me and what I said, and it was what I said. Peter Courier had called me and just wanted an update on what was happening with the seniors and the vaccine.
Sure.
And I said, it's where we were 6 weeks ago. Other than the fact that as they keep adding people in terms of their eligibility, and of course the latest group to be added in was the teachers. And so it just,
It dilutes the pool.
Right. When you add more people, then and you don't add more vaccines. That's the problem. We're still pretty much dealing with the same number of vaccines. But I want to put out this fire right now because I don't want to make it sound like I'm not in favor of the teachers getting vaccinated. Actually, I was in favor of the teachers getting vaccinated separately ahead of any of the seniors. I really felt like if you want to get the kids back in school, get the teachers vaccinated.
Yeah, they almost should have been with public safety.
That's what I thought. And I said that right from the get-go. I said, I really feel, and they should have been done separately, set it up in a school.
And it also should have been priority by age of teacher, too.
There you go. So,
And they
I
should
don't
have done
want
that subset just like the general population.
Right. And so I don't want to, I don't want to go down as, I'm anti-teacher getting vaccine. Quite the opposite. I feel like they should have already been vaccinated before we even started with the older people.
If you look at the quote-unquote science,
yeah.
not every teacher needs to get vaccinated. If you're in your 20s,
Yes.
you really don't need to get vaccinated.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. It's good when you get it down the road, but you don't need it right now to survive.
Yeah. Well, all I can
I'm just
say
saying
is, no, I get it. And,
This
basically,
whole follow the science thing went out the window about.
Oh my gosh!
When it
about
came to this.
11 months ago. Well, but I do feel, and one of the things that came out in the article pretty strongly, and I've been very upfront about that. My priority are my 75 and older group.
That's your job.
And that is my job. And I realize that my job is also to work with people who are 65 to 74 in that cohort, and I get that. But what we're finding is that a lot of those people, the 65 to 74, are computer savvy. They know exactly what to do. They're doing it. They're not getting appointments, and they're frustrated. And a lot of times they're calling us kind of as a last resort saying, well, can you get it? Can you get an appointment any faster than I can because I'm not having luck? And my answer to them is no, we can't. We're looking at the same computer screen that you're looking at. We don't have any shortcut to the state, which, hey, listen, I don't blame them for making the phone call. Ask. But I can tell you right now, we don't. And so, but that's 75 and older. I got people in their 80s and 90s. They don't own a computer. They don't own a smartphone.
They don't want it. They don't care.
Right, exactly. It's just, for them, it's really hard to learn
So,
something new. So,
in all of this, the good news is that yesterday, and I think for the average is down to 20 deaths per day, which is a very small number compared to where we started with this.
Yep.
And this is funny. The average age of people passing away has dropped. And do we have something going on?
Yeah,
where,
exactly.
Where it
That's
could be,
not good.
It could be a different. No, the average age has dropped to 77.
Yes, right. There you go.
And I went,
Yeah.
and the other good news is the number of ICU patients is dropping significantly.
Yeah.
So we're getting there.
We are getting there. And the only
what I'm trying to do is we should stress good news.
Yes.
Because so many people just see bad news every single day, and that's the part that's wearing on everybody. It's my mom. I see it my mom every single day. My mom's in her 70s. It's like, hey, I says you need to stop watching the news.
You know what, Pete? That is
Local, national, everything.
Right.
Stop
Here's
watching.
what we were telling people, and this came through at the board meeting. It's like, be patient. If you want a vaccine, you will get a vaccine, but it's not going to happen yesterday or next week even, or maybe even this month, but maybe next month. And turn off your television, turn off the news, and put on the Hallmark Channel.
I've been telling her that since August.
Just shut off the news, because it is constant. This constant barrage, vaccine. And even the article that was in the Westfield News today, it was like, I'm not giving you really any new news, guys. It's the same thing I've been telling you for the last 6 weeks.
There's not a lot otherwise going on, so they need to report on something. And I get it.
I do too. Yeah, I do too. And people want to know. And I just keep saying, be patient. Turn off the news. Do what you've been doing.
Well, I know the mayor and Joe Rouse were doing updates for a while there, and I was posting them on Channel 12 every hour. Mm-hmm. And there's nothing new to talk about, so they stopped doing them.
That's right.
And I don't blame them.
Exactly. We don't have any. There's nothing. Yeah, there's nothing new. That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
All right. So, Pete, on a good news note, wait till you hear this great story that Gary shared with me yesterday, and you would be so interested in this. So, Gary is now working for Dr. Gary Gorman, who, if you don't know, is my husband, and he's a chiropractor. He's on our radio/TV show once a month, usually the first Wednesday of the month.
Yep.
Anyway, Gary is now working at Strength for Life up in East Hampton, which is in the East Works building, which a lot of the listeners or viewers will know as the building that the RMV is in. And so anyway, he, in between patients, and when he has breaks for, half hour or so, he'll walk that building. It's a huge building.
The old Stanley Home products.
Exactly. And it's 4 floors, and, you can walk 3 miles or whatever. Well, in that building, Pete, is their local cable television channel.
Yeah.
So Gary had stopped there maybe a month or so ago when he realized what it was, and he brought them a copy of the Voice of Experience newsletter. And, with on page 2 with all of our programming on channel 15.
Yep.
And so Gary said,
what?
yeah. So, he was talking to whoever the person was there and got their card or whatever. Gary said, so this was yesterday. He said, I'm walking the building and I go by And I stopped because you can see their TV with their local broadcast on it. And he said, Carrie goes, and I see Harry Rock. And I'm like, wait a minute. I know him interviewing Ben Warren. So they are showing the fire safety.
Geez, nice of them to tell us.
Fire safety for seniors, yeah. And Gary, and so I said to Gary, well, I will let Pete Coles know that. It's nice to know.
I wonder if they have a Teleview, because I wonder if they've licensed that show, because I put that up for distribution.
Well, I said that. I said to Gary, I said, well, Pete throws this stuff out there. So, but anyway, I think that's so appropriate, because fire safety for seniors it doesn't matter what town you live in, you know, it's all the same safety measures. So
yeah,
there you go. So good stuff, and you can check into that. But I thought, hey, that's great. We're educating East Hampton seniors as well as Westfield seniors. All right, some famous birthdays before we take our first break, because we do have our guest coming in this morning.
I know, that's awesome.
I know. I'm really excited. I'm really hoping. I haven't gotten a phone call telling me that he's doing it by phone, because he's planning to come in. Oh, I will be leaving shortly. I'll see you in a few minutes.
Go.
Eric Bishop. We're going to have Deputy Fire Chief Eric
So
Bishop.
Fire Safety for Seniors has been licensed by Arlington Community Media, Amherst TV, Avon, Mass Public Access TV, CVTV, East Hampton Media, so that would be them. Falls Cable, Lake Cam, which is, I'm not sure what that is, PAC TV, Plymouth, and Wilbraham Public Access.
That's awesome.
So far.
That's really great, Pete. That was a great segment.
The Alzheimer's one I pulled, but got licensed by 20 outlets.
That's great. That's really awesome.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's do one famous birthday before we take our first break, because Deputy Fire Chief Eric Bishop is going to be joining us in about 15 minutes. So it is the birthday, March 10th today, of Carrie Underwood, singer born 1983 in Muskogee, Oklahoma. She's 38 years old today. Singer Carrie Underwood enjoyed her first taste of stardom by winning Season 4 of American Idol. She followed with the multi-platinum debut album Some Hearts in 2005 and went on to win numerous Grammy, Country Music Association, and Academy of Country Music awards. In 2008, at the age of 26, Underwood was inducted into the Grand Ole Opry, making her the youngest member of the famed institution. Later that year, she won the CMA Award for Female Vocalist of the Year for the third consecutive time. In May 2013, it was announced that Carrie Underwood would be taking the reins from fellow country star Faith Hill to perform the weekly Sunday Night Football theme song, Waiting All Day for Sunday Night. She continued her work on television as Maria alongside Stephen Moyer in the retelling of The Sound of Music. The TV event, which was broadcast live, more closely followed the original 1959 musical than the 1965 film starring Julie Andrews, and went on to receive 4 Emmy nominations. So happy 38th birthday to Carrie Underwood.
My God, I'm feeling old.
You know what, Pete? You and me both. I'm feeling ancient today. All right. So in honor of the birthday of Carrie Underwood, we are going to take a break. It is 6:15. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses and WCPC Cable Channel 15. We're going to listen to Carrie sing Before He Cheats.
Probably slow dancing with a bleach blonde tramp, and she's probably getting frisky. Right now, he's probably buying her some fruity little drink, 'cause she can't shoot whiskey. Right now, he's probably up behind her with a pool stick, showing her how to shoot a combo. And he don't know. I dug my key into the side of this pretty little souped-up four-wheel drive, carved my name into his leather seats. I took a Louisville Slugger to both headlights, slashed our home and all 4 tires. And maybe next time I'll think before he cheats. Right now, she's probably up singing some white trash version of Shania karaoke. Right now, she's probably saying I'm drunk, and he's thinking that he's gonna get lucky. Right now, he's probably dabbing on $3 worth of that bathroom polo.
Support for community radio on WSKB provided by Westfield Electroplating. Employing over 140 skilled platers, painters, and technicians, Westfield Electroplating was founded in 1946 and was the first company in the country to achieve National Aerospace and Defense Contractor Program accreditation, proudly maintaining that status for over a decade. Westfield Electroplating provides over 50 quality finishes to meet your corrosion, cosmetic, or performance needs. On the web at www.westfieldplating.com or 413-568-3716. Westfield Electroplating, putting the finishing touches on technology.
Join us every Thursday morning
from 6 until at least 7:30.
Check out the Bobby G and Company Show
right here on WSKB 89.5
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 6:19. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC Cable Channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host. I'm in the studio this morning with the chairman of the board, producer Pete Coles. Good morning again, Pete.
Good morning.
And bright and early joining us this morning is Deputy Fire Chief Eric Bishop, who has just put in about a 36-hour day and is just kind of finishing that up. But Eric is here because we are, this is the month of March. And for the Senior Center, that means it's Retire the Fire time. And time to talk about fire safety for seniors and safety in general for seniors. And I was just telling Pete, Eric, before you came in that Ben Warren did another deputy fire chief. How many deputy fire chiefs are there? Three? Five. Oh, five. Okay, so Ben is another one, and Ben did an educational program that we run monthly called Westfield Council on Aging Presents, and that series is hosted by Harry Rock. And my husband works up at Eastworks. He's a chiropractor up at Strength for Life in East Hampton. And he said he was walking the building as he does on his breaks, and he went by their local public TV station, and there he sees Harry Rock and Ben on their big TV. Yeah.
Nice.
So East Hampton picked up that because Pete puts that out there for other local communities.
Oh, I love it.
To pull, and Pete was just looking at the list, and there are a whole lot of communities, not just in this area, but even across the state.
I love it.
Who have pulled that up. And I said to Pete, I think that's so great because, fire safety for seniors is fire safety for seniors. It doesn't matter what town or city you're in.
Exactly.
So
The
I
message
think
is
that's
the
awesome. Yeah. So I think that's great. So bring us up to speed. How are you doing? How are things going in your world?
Just talk right into that microphone. You can pull it right over to you.
You can pull the mic right up to you.
Don't worry.
Life is good for Deputy Bishop. This is my last shift before I go on vacation. I'm taking my family to Disney.
Yay.
Yeah, so warm weather is in my future, so we're pretty excited. Of course, me and my wife are fully vaccinated, and we're ready and prepared to go. We are going to be in compliant with all of our CDC guidelines, but that is not preventing me from being excited about getting on a plane and going to warm weather.
Should be excited. You absolutely should. I know when Pete just got back from Virginia a week ago, and he couldn't wait to get out. I don't blame him.
I taped that episode of Senior Center Presents on Zoom with Ben from my hotel room in Virginia.
Yes,
nice.
Pete did that. Yeah, Pete did that because I was like, Pete, we got to get this for March. It's Retire the Fire Month. And Pete's like, yeah, that's no problem. I can do it from. So, yeah, they Zoomed it in, and Ben was at the fire department, and Harry was at his house because he had the oars for he's an outdoorsman, and he has the oars hanging on the wall behind him, which looked very scenic. But anyway, yeah.
Ben kept having his lights getting shut off on him because they installed the new light switches in
Oh
there.
my God, it was hysterical.
I did hear it.
I know. You see the look on his face every time the lights went off, and
He looked embarrassed. It was funny as hell.
it was so fun. But that happens to me in my office sometimes. If I start piling stuff on in front of my thing, and I'm there by myself, and I'm at my computer, I'm not moving. So eventually, the lights will go off, and I'm waving my arms around and standing up and doing calisthenics to make the lights go back on.
If you can't laugh at it,
You have
I
to.
don't know. Yeah.
You have to. We've had to laugh a lot this last 11 months. Like crazy. All right, so we are going to talk fire safety for seniors.
Right.
Where would you like to start there, Deputy Fire Chief Bishop?
We are talking about close before your doze today.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a safety measure that was put on 2017, 2018, and we continue to talk about it today. It's, in general, closing the door before you go to sleep.
Yes. And this is this is like a novel idea to a lot of people, myself included. I have to say, I never slept with the door closed. Even as a kid, I didn't.
Right.
But even growing up, and of course, I've talked to a lot of people who have said, I never do, because when my children were little, when we had babies, you always had the door open so that you could hear them in case something happened. And then I saw that video of the difference between how fast a fire can spread.
The stark contrast.
It's unbelievable.
Of fire damage outside the room and inside the room.
Yeah.
It is quite amazing. Closing the door prevents the fire spread from reaching you, especially if you don't have working smoke detectors. That's something we're going to focus on today.
We are going to talk about that as well, of course.
And it keeps the fire gases outside of your room and allows you time to either escape or survive the event until the fire department gets there.
Eric, I think really maybe a good starting place, and I know you have talked about this before, because I know when you've come to the senior center, I will never forget the video that you showed of how fast, I think there was one of a sofa being set on fire, and how fast it burned. Why is it? Because it seems to me, and from what I've read, that fires in this day and age spread a lot faster than fires, 60, 70, 80, 100 years ago. Why is that?
Well, specifically, it has to do with the construction of the sofa itself. Foams and different type of newer synthetics have a tendency to burn quicker.
Okay.
Legacy construction, I think, is what they used to call it, is, cottons, different types of burlap, different coverings they used to use. Now they're using all kinds of synthetic material, and they start using foam. Foam burns incredibly fast and produces hydrogen cyanide, a very toxic gas, which spreads very quickly. So you have the combination of fast fire spread plus the toxic gas makes a sofa fire a very dangerous event.
And of course, we have those, foams, and it's not just your sofa. You've got easy chairs and other things like that. So, and I think the other thing, and I've done several workshops on this, both at the senior center as well as at the some of the state organizations. Americans have a lot of stuff. We own a lot of belongings. I mean, you can't overlook the fact that we own more than people did 50 years ago and certainly 100 years ago. So when you put that combination, I think of, the synthetic fabrics that you were talking about, the foam that you were talking about, and then just the amount of stuff.
The accumulation seems to increase as you get older. So the older you are, the more stuff you have, the more keepsakes you have, which increases the amount of fire load. Fire load is the amount of stuff that could possibly burn in any given area. So if you have a small fire starting, let's say, in the sofa, that could quickly spread to any of your keepsake items, and the fire keeps on growing. Combine that with the current open concept construction, and the fire has no stopping point until it self-extinguishes. We like to consider flow path and in the fire service, which is how much air it's getting in. If you can enclose a room, you can decrease the amount of oxygen it gets, so therefore it slows the fire spread. In an open concept, that's just not possible.
Right, and we see that, I'm a big HGTV fan, so, but you see that, and that's when people want that now. It's like, I want that open concept of, my kitchen and my family room, and everything kind of flows in together without a lot of walls in there. But you're right, from a fire standpoint, you put that combination, and then, I think the other thing, too, is that, and I've probably been guilty of thinking about this in the past myself until I became more educated. You think there's a fire, it's smoky. What is your natural tendency? Open up all the windows and let the smoke out. And what does that do, though?
It entrains more air, which then makes the fire even worse. And a lot of studies have shown that as you open a window, as you open a door, it will draw the fire towards that area. So if you're trying to prevent yourself from being in a toxic environment, you may actually draw the fire towards you. So you have to be careful with that. Closing the door behind you and then opening the window is your best bet. You can then release the toxic air from within your environment and obviously set yourself up for success.
Yeah, absolutely. So this close the door thing, the campaign is called Close Before You Doze.
Right.
And the idea is that before you go to bed at night, you close the door so that if a fire starts, at least
Sure.
you will have. Now, of course you're going to have. You're going to be better able to get out of a fire. I know you want to talk about this. I know you're itching.
I do.
Let's talk about detectors
Okay,
because I know that is your focus, as it should be.
We talk about surviving fire events and close before you doze and doing all these things to ensure that you can survive a fire event. But ultimately, the best recipe for success is getting out, and getting out means early detection. We don't have the same amount of time as we used to. So fire spreads, as we talked about, rapidly. So you only have a few minutes to escape if a fire is detected. Now, 2 minutes, that's plenty of time. We had a fire on Orange Street just a few months ago.
Yeah.
That was a C group fire, a fire I commanded. When we pulled up, people were leaving in their PJs.
Yeah.
You're waking up in the middle of the night. Your house is full of smoke. You're disoriented. Your best bet is to just get out.
Mm-hmm.
Have a meeting place. Have a plan. Understand that you need to call 911. Make sure that you have a phone next to your bed in case there is an emergency. You don't want to be searching for it, believe me.
Mm-hmm.
And then, again, having working smoke detectors in the proper locations, outside of a bedroom, within the stairwell, et cetera, making sure that they're under 10 years old and they're in good working conditions, that you change the battery twice a year to ensure function. Those are the things that are going to help you survive a fire.
Well, I think let's focus a little bit about fires that start while people are sleeping. First of all, there are a lot of fires that start. The statistics are pretty high for fires that begin between 11 p.m. and 7 a.m.
Correct.
Not sure why that is, but...
there's a number of factors.
Yeah.
A lot of them have to do with cooking.
Okay.
Believe it or not, if you're, come home late at night,
Yep.
throw something on a pan,
Yeah.
knock off,
Yeah.
and then realize that your
Yep.
macaroni and cheese is now burned. There's a lot of smoking is a large cause where people fall asleep with a cigarette either in bed or on the couch. We talk about those couch fires.
Yeah.
Those are, big indicators of late night fires. But it could happen for any number of reasons. If you're sleeping, you're not aware of the smoldering event that's occurring, the little bit of smoke. And again, with the open concept, maybe the smoke gathers up in a high area and you don't notice it.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you finally wake up, because either due to smoke detectors or whether or not there's you wake up because there's smoke in your house,
Yeah.
there's probably so much smoke that you need to just escape.
Yeah. So I want to talk about being ready, especially at night. We've talked about obviously the close before you doze, but I think there were some other things that you had pointed out to me when we were preparing for this. One is, phones. Like I still have seniors who have landlines, which is
Sure.
fine, but I have a lot of seniors now who have both a landline and a cell phone. And as you were saying, if you have a cell phone, when you go to bed at night, have it right next to you, right on your nightstand, and make sure that it's fully charged or it's charging. Like I
Sure.
charge mine at night, but it doesn't take long to charge.
Sure.
So, within a half an hour after you go to bed,
Right.
it's going to be charged. But, I thought to myself, yeah, what a great idea because, that's your lifeline to call 911.
It is, and especially if you live in a larger project house.
Yep.
And you may become trapped because there's smoke in the hallway or what have you, being able to close the door, open a window, call 911, let them know where you're at.
Yep.
That's essential. You don't want to be going downstairs to look for where your phone is. It should be right next to you.
Right, exactly. So your phone should be next to you. I think the other thing that's really important, especially for our older adults to remember, and you kind of mentioned this just a few minutes ago, Eric, it's really easy to become disoriented at night.
Sure.
When you wake up to, kind of like, wait, where am I? What day is this?
Sure.
What time is it or whatever?
Sure.
And especially if, you wear glasses, if you have a hearing loss, if you have mobility issues, those are all things. So you want to be as prepared as you can be before you go to bed in case there is an emergency.
Of course. And again, with mobility issues, that you have to build in that time to escape. If,
Right.
If it would normally take somebody who is more able to get out 1 or 2 minutes, then you need even more
Yeah.
time than that to ensure that you can escape a fire.
And I think the other thing too is in that light, if you are somebody who uses a walker or somebody who uses that needs to be right near your bed.
Sure.
I mean, if you've got which I would assume it is, if you need to get up just to use the restroom or whatever in the middle of the night,
Right.
but make sure that you have those tools. And I can tell you you remember the Washington Street fire when we had the fire at the Washington Apartments several years ago. And I remember talking to some of my seniors after that, some of the residents who live there, and they described that disorientation. They described that they couldn't find their glasses. They were trying to get out of the apartment, and they couldn't remember. Well, where did I put my glass? I think I left them in the bathroom, and all of that. If whatever you can have right near your bed. I also tell them, because the other piece was the firefighters had to go back in, and I was there when that happened, trying to find people's medications.
Yeah,
Right. And that's a problem. I have some of them in the kitchen table, and then I have some of them in my medicine cabinet, and I have some of them on my dresser in my bedroom.
Sure.
It's really helpful if they're all in one place. And so they can just grab, I know the firefighters went in there with Ziploc bags, threw whatever they could find in a Ziploc, put the apartment number, and, brought it downstairs.
So we don't recommend once the medication or any food or any items are in a fire that we don't want you to take them anymore anyways. They're contaminated, if you will, with chemicals and byproducts of combustion. Okay. So we want to focus on making sure you get out. That is the key. So whether or not you have slippers by the bed or what have you, again, in the Orange Street fire, people were leaving in their PJs. We want you to get out. Yep. Thank goodness they did. It was the key to their survival.
Yeah.
The amount of smoke that's produced from a sofa or what have you lights are on the ceiling. That's where the smoke is. Mm-hmm. It's dark. It's disorienting. Yeah. Smoke alarms are going off. You don't know where it's coming from. You end up having to stay low if you can and escape. You don't want to be searching for where the fire is. You want to get your stuff and you go. And then we're going to talk about briefly not going back for your pets.
Thank you. All right, let's take a little bit of a break. I'm all disoriented on my time now. I get so wrapped up in, I just get really wrapped up in this. It is 6:36. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses and WCPC cable channel 15. We're going to take a short break. My guest this morning is Deputy Fire Chief Eric Bishop. We're talking about the Retire the Fire program and especially nighttime safety. We will be back.
They asked me how I knew my true love was true. Oh, I of course replied, something here inside cannot be denied. Said someday you'll find all who love are blind. Oh, when your heart's on fire, you must realize smoke gets in your eyes. So I chaff them as I gaily laugh to think they would doubt our love. Yet today my love has gone away. I am without my love. Now, laughing can be right, tears I cannot hide. Oh, so I smile and say, when a lovely flame dies, smoke gets in your eyes.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Barnes & Noble College Bookstore in the Ely Campus Center, offering Westfield State t-shirts, sweatshirts, and gift merchandise, all of your academic needs, and offering textbook materials in new, used, ebook, and rental formats. Available at the bookstore on campus or online at westfieldstate.bncollege.com.
Hi, it's Bob Plass, and I have Wow, It's Tuesday, every Tuesday, 6 to 8. Wow, it's Tuesday.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
I did it!
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 6:39. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC Cable Channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and I'm in the studio this morning with producer Pete Coles. And my guest this morning is Deputy Fire Chief Eric Bishop. I'm so glad you came in person, Eric. Thank you.
I'm glad too.
We're so used to having
You may be the
call
first
in.
Tina Gorman guest live in God knows how long.
Quite a while. Well, Jen Jafune comes in, my registered
true, yeah.
dietitian, but that's
Before
about
that, it had been months and months and months and months.
Oh yeah, it had been a lot of months. So we're really
I think it works better.
It does.
Yeah, all
it
right.
does. It's easier. I can
Is
read.
it just me? Is it
no,
work
I can
better?
read. No, I can read people's faces, and that is a challenge when they're on the phone. I can't see them, so I don't know when they're taking a pause. I don't want to jump in, but you don't want these big gaps. But we mentioned earlier, and I do want to mention a couple of things going on that we're doing for Retire the Fire month. It's really turned into the whole month of March now. It started as a week-long project back in the day. I think it was 8 years. I think this is our 8th year. But I did mention before Eric came that Ben Warren, who is the fire prevention officer now, Eric held that position for a while. They kind of rotate through that, and Deputy Fire Chief Ben Warren has that position now. He was interviewed by Harry Rock for our Westfield Council on Aging Presents series. And so that is aired every Tuesday at 2:45. So throughout the month of March, we've done 2 shows, and that interview lasted over an hour. I gave Harry and Ben sort of a laundry list of, topics. Honestly, not thinking they would get through them all, but
Right.
they were determined. I guess they figured, like I was the teacher giving an assignment. They had to get through them all. But
they're overachievers. They probably did all those and two more.
And more, yeah. But they really did a fabulous job. They covered, cooking fires. They covered electrical,
Right.
overloading your sockets
Right,
and
right.
heating and oxygen and, all kinds of. They talked about house numbers. So, they really covered a lot. So I would encourage our viewers and our listeners to tune in on Tuesday afternoon.
And if you're an insider
2:45.
at 2:50 on Thursdays, I also rerun it.
Yeah.
And you can watch it anytime on YouTube.
If you have YouTube. Yeah, Pete has all of our YouTube Senior Center programming bundled, and we have quite the assortment now because Pete's been hard at work for the last 12 months now, working with us on getting so many of our programs on our local cable channel. And Pete, I have to tell you, I had a woman who came through the tax line. So we're doing the AARP taxes right now. And I had a woman come through the line last week, and she told me how she feels like she knows my family because my husband and my daughter did 3 exercise videos for me. And she just said, but you know what? Listen to this story, Pete. I went home and I told Gary and Grace this. I said, okay, this is a really feel-good story with all this insanity going on around us. This woman said to me, we do those exercises faithfully twice a week. She said, my husband is in a wheelchair. We wheel it in front of the TV, and the two of us do it together. It's part of our routine. And she said, I just feel like I know your husband and your daughter so well because they're in my living room twice a week. I just think that's awesome. So
it's making a connection.
It is. It is.
COVID has kept us apart for so long. We need that human connection.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
if we're getting it through that method, then bravo.
Yeah, it's just been a great. So anyway, tune in on Tuesdays, and as Pete said too, he kind of plays that one again on Thursdays as well. So Eric, one of the things, no matter how many years I've done this program, no matter how many things emails that I get from the State Department of Fire Services, and I read everything faithfully, I'm always learning new things, or I'm always not necessarily even learning, but somebody will point something out and I'll say, oh yeah, that makes sense, but I never really thought about that. Let's talk about pets, because you brought up the pet issue, and I think this is so important for our seniors, because I have so many seniors that have a little dog, they have a little puppy, they have cats. What, fire and pets, how does that work?
Pets are part of the family. They are. And as you get older, it feels like that pet is, takes on more of a role of a daughter or a son or what have you. And oftentimes in a fire, your first inkling is to go rescue your pet.
Yeah.
99% of the time, the pet is either going to be okay or self-rescue. We had a fire on, I think it was Columbia Street, in which they were concerned about their pets. The pets ran out as soon as the door opened. And, we spent the fire looking for the pets, and we do. The fire department will rescue your pet if we are able to, if we're able to locate it. Most of the time, though, the pets will get out on their own. They're lower to the ground. They're not standing up, breathing in all that toxic smoke, if you will.
So let's talk about that, because you've mentioned that 2 or 3 times now, Eric. So why is it important for people to stay as low as they can?
Sure. So in a fire, obviously fire is hot air rises, and hot air will accumulate in the upper areas of a room, so at the ceiling level, and we call it thermal layering. So in the ground level, you will probably have what we consider normal temperatures, 100 or so degrees. At the ceiling, you may have 800-900 degrees. If you can stay low, the temperatures will be low, the toxic gases, which will rise, all the particulates from combustion will rise, and at the ground level, it'll be relatively clear. Pets are small, they can stay low to the ground, they can make their way to a safe area. The fire we had over on Zephyr, we had several pets. They found their way to the basement. It was an attic fire. They were fine. They have this natural instinct to be safe. And that if you are going in for your pet, chances are you're putting yourself in danger. You're not crawling around, you're standing up. You're attempting to find where your cat or dog was rather than where they have retreated to. 99% of the time, the cat or dog will survive because they get themselves into a safe area. And you may not when you put yourself back into a dangerous situation.
Yeah, I mean, I think I can't imagine more of a tragedy than someone who escapes a fire and then goes back into a burning building to try to locate a pet that you have no idea where. I mean, to me, like cats and dogs, they could be anywhere, just because you saw them a half an hour ago in the living room. They're not going to be.
And I get it. They're family members, right? So you want to rescue your family member, open the door to see if they're in there. Oh, they must be under the bed. So you leave the door open, then bringing in more oxygen, which then brings, the fire even higher, more intense, and then you have put yourself in a dangerous situation.
Yeah, exactly. We've talked about that whole, open door, closed door. And I know I used to do fire safety when I was working in nursing homes, and they, the first thing was you were always trying to, get people out and but close the doors. It's like the more doors you can close, the less chance the fire has of, I guess the slower the fire will spread.
Right. It'll use up all the oxygen within a given space, and then it'll start to darken down. It'll get smaller and smaller, and maybe keep it at a reasonable level. Not that that's really a word we would use until the fire department can get there. But depending on how far you are away from the fire station, it may take us a minute or two to get there. A minute or two is a long time. If fire doubles in size every minute, that's twice or 3 times, 4 times as big until we get there.
Yeah, I absolutely, I can remember, and I think the seniors who saw that video that you showed of how quickly a fire can spread, I think we were just blown away. I mean, that was just amazing to me, and you really realize, and I know your mantra, Eric, has been, get out, just get out. You can call the fire department after you get out, run to your neighbors and call 911. Get out of the building as quickly as you can. And do not go back in.
Do not go back in. Let us know where your pet is. Let us know where your family members are, if it is a pet. Let us know it is a pet. My baby's inside. My baby's a cat. We're not looking for a crib. We're looking for a cat. Because that's the cat's name is Baby.
Right.
So
exactly.
let us know where your animals are. Let us know where your family members are. And if you have to, we talk about this close before you doze. If you are trapped for whatever reason and you have your cell phone, keep that door closed, put a towel by the door, open a window, call 911, let us know where you are. We're going to come get you.
Yeah. Let them know 911, my house is on fire. I'm in the bedroom and I'm trapped in the bedroom. I have the door closed. Yep. As you said, and I remember that they had taught us that early on when I was doing nursing home work. If you can put a towel or anything under the door, anything that's where there's, smoke that can seep in, or over the, where your heating vents are or whatever, you can close those, as much as you can do with that. Open the window a little bit, in the enclosed room though, just so that you can breathe and, just to let people know, here I am, come and get me. But I know I want to go back to the whole smoke detector thing because, because again, if you go back to, but think about it, Eric, and you and I have both, certainly you, but we've had enough fires involving seniors at night.
Right.
And the problem is if you have any kind of first of all, seniors lose their senses are diminished as they age, whether it's their sense of taste, their sense of smell.
Sure.
You may not smell that smoke right away, but I can tell you when a fire alarm goes off, I don't care how hard of hearing you are, those fire, they are deafening.
Yeah.
You are not going to sleep through that.
Sure. The issue that we have found within the fire service is that the smoke detectors in the basement, and you live on a second floor. So you should probably try to find those smoke detectors that interlink.
Yes.
It's newer technology. They don't have to be wired to each other. They use wireless. So if you have a fire in the basement, it notifies you on the first and second floor. Yep. Things are going off. You can get up and get out before the smoke even reaches the first floor if it was a basement fire.
Yep.
So, yes, having working smoke detectors are the key to success in this whole thing.
Yep.
Working.
Yes.
Less than 10 years old. Numerous fires. Oh, that thing goes off all the time because, I cook and I set it off.
Yeah, so I took out the batteries.
Yeah, so that was the only smoke detector they had on that entire floor.
Yep.
I was waiting for my son to come back and put it up.
Yep.
I keep it in a basket next to the drawer. Smoke, as we talked about, rises. In order for the smoke to reach that smoke detector, it's got to reach the ceiling and bank all the way down before it goes off. That's time that you have lost to escape. So working smoke detectors is the key.
And let's talk a little bit about the actual detectors now, Eric, because first of all, the newer ones, you don't have to replace the batteries, right? It's a 10-year.
Yep.
You put it up,
Yep.
and you can forget about it for 10 years.
I love it.
And at the end of 10 years, you're going to take it down and put up a new one.
Right.
But
10 years, you don't have to change the battery at all. It's good to go. A lot of them, like the one, I have the Nest version, they self-test. They send notifications to your phone. That's the ones I have in my house because they interconnect. Yep. If I've got a problem in the basement, it lets me know on the second floor. I have time to escape, call 911, etc. But just as when you were a kid and just as you were an adult, have a meeting place. Understand where you need to go. It's like you don't want to go outside and realize, where do I go from here?
Right. Well, the other problem is without a meeting place, you don't know who else escaped. I mean, especially if it's a larger family.
Sure.
It's kind of like, well, wait a minute, where's Joey? I don't know. The last time I saw him, he was in the kitchen.
Sure.
Well, but Joey may be in the backyard. You
right.
know what I mean? Being safe and, talking to neighbors or whatever. So
Right. And that comes into play also in a senior housing area where it's like my neighbor, I think, is still inside, but your neighbor actually went to the meeting place and you went out front or vice versa.
Yep.
So we spend a lot of energy looking for your neighbor. We send resources, people to open up doors to make sure that everybody's out. And that brings up probably my final point. We have found on numerous occasions that people aren't leaving, especially in housing complexes. It drives us crazy.
Yeah.
So I probably shouldn't say that, but yeah, it does.
No.
I mean, the smoke alarms are going off and people are walking into their apartment.
Right.
Hold on. No, you're going in the wrong direction.
Right.
you get out and stay out until we can resolve this issue. It was only a few months ago that we had a cooking fire incident over at 25 Thomas. The apartment was filled from floor to ceiling full of smoke. We were rather surprised to open the door, and I was the first one that arrived. I opened the door, and I was staying low because that's what you do. The smoke rises in there. I saw a couple of feet, and I was like, "Sir, what's going on?" "Oh, I'm trying to make it to my stove. I just have burnt food."
Yeah.
How can you, sir? How can you see?
Yeah.
I can't see that. You need to be able to get out, and none of his neighbors left either.
Yeah.
So we need to ensure that when the smoke alarms are going off, go outside, go down in the lobby, get out, stay out until we can resolve the issue.
Right. I think what happens in apartment complexes, and I've seen it in senior complexes myself, it's like, that thing's going off. Somebody probably burned their toast. Don't assume that.
Right.
Maybe that is all that happened. But
Right.
if the fire department has been called, they'll find that out. But you know what? We've also have people that have set themselves on fire because of oxygen and engulfed an entire apartment and apartments next to them. Because you don't know, and because you might be 2 floors down from wherever it's going, get out. I mean, get out. This is not the time to be wandering around going, I think, Joe burned his toast again.
Yeah, they become complacent.
Yes.
In some ways numb to all it goes off so much. Now, we need to really address those issues from the fire service.
Right.
Like if it's the same person burning their toast over and over again, then maybe this is a cognitive issue and we need to address it. And we will.
Yep.
But until that time, spend the time practicing, getting out, ensuring that you have an escape plan, knowing where your meeting place is, and understanding that this could be real, and this might be your only chance to escape.
Eric, what do we do? What happens? Because I know I've had seniors ask me that. For those, especially those senior housing where there are multiple floors and elevators, and I have seniors with mobility issues, what do they do? Because we're usually told in a fire, don't take the elevator, right? Is that correct?
Sure.
What do we do?
Right. If the elevator will get tripped, there's a smoke detector at the very top of every elevator shaft. So as soon as the elevator smoke detector goes off, the elevator will automatically shut down and go to the first floor, and it will not work until we use our key. For those that have mobility issues, 99% of the time they're going to have some sort of smoke or fire door. So you should be able to escape laterally rather than vertically.
Vertically.
So you don't need to go to the stairs necessarily. If you move beyond the fire door, then you are in good shape. And in this case, in 25 Thomas, there's a secondary elevator that probably hasn't been tripped yet, and you would be able to take that one down.
Okay.
So you're on the same level. Move beyond the fire doors, which should close automatically.
I was going to say, the fire doors, do they typically close automatically?
They typically close automatically unless they're propped open. Again, another pet peeve of mine. Oh, it's hot out. I want to keep it. Again, I understand. I really do. But if they are meant to trip and close, if you move beyond them, it buys you more time.
And what about sprinkler systems? Do they have sprinkler systems in like some of the senior housing?
They do. The majority of it really depends on the year. So if they're built more recently, like over at 551 North Road, they have sprinkler systems in all the rooms, all the apartments, all the hallways. 25 Thomas was built in an era where the sprinkler code only required it in the main, hallways.
Yep.
And so you have room to escape. It really depends on the fire code itself.
Okay. All right. Well, Deputy Fire Chief Eric Bishop, I thank you so much. I know this has been such a long day for you, but I think that it was just really important. I just want to remind our listeners as we wrap this segment up that close before you doze. That's the slogan, which is just keep that bedroom door closed when you go to sleep at night. My suggestion is if you have young children, that's why they invented baby monitors, and baby monitors are not just for babies.
Sure.
You can use them for kids as well, just as a method to say, hey, I need a glass of water. I have to go to the bathroom. Come and get me. But better to keep that door closed, because the video of that, and I'm going to see if Pete can pull that up after you leave second hour of the video, the difference between the bedroom with the door closed versus the bedroom.
It's amazing.
It was absolutely, just unbelievable, just how much damage was done if the door was open. So,
well, I cannot thank you enough for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank
It is a passion of mine. I do like talking about fire service, and I do like talking about fire prevention. So,
all right, thanks so much, Eric. So, Deputy Fire Chief Eric Bishop, Retire the Fire, and we're going to take our top of the hour break. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC cable channel 15. When we come back, I'm going to talk a little bit about the File of Life program that we're doing and a little bit more about fire prevention and safety and lots of announcements, more birthdays. We'll be back.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Bay State Dental. Comprehensive dentistry at 14 convenient locations in Springfield, Chicopee, Longmeadow, West Springfield, Belchertown, East Longmeadow, Ludlow, Northampton, Greenfield, and Wilbraham, as well as 29 Broad Street in Westfield. Bay State Dental makes it a priority to help you achieve and maintain the healthy smile you deserve. On the web at baystatedental.com.
Join us the third Wednesday of every month with Selectman Joe Didi and his take on everything Southwick.
Community Radio
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 7:02. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC cable channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and I'm in the studio. It's back to just you and me, Pete. I'm in the studio with producer Pete Coles, the chairman of the board.
Yep.
As we say goodbye to Deputy Fire Chief, a very tired Deputy
Going on
Fire
vacation.
Chief. He is leaving. Going on vacation. Well, taking some time off starting tomorrow. So, Eric looked pretty spent. He had a really long day yesterday.
Yeah, they had meetings and then fire commission, and they had a meeting going on when I went in there to set up. So
he said he's starting at 7:30 yesterday morning. Meetings pretty much all day, and then he didn't start his shift until last night, and then
12 last
worked
night,
and then worked all through the night. So I really appreciate Eric coming in here because it's always interesting to get the perspective from the fire department, and they always think about things that I don't necessarily think about about. It's not necessarily in the literature that we see, but I think, Eric's.
Well, they come from experience.
They absolutely do.
The literature is the theory, the stuff they teach them.
Exactly. And
then,
all,
hey, this is what we came across on Orange Street.
Right. So exactly. So I think what Eric's point to me always is, all of the literature is all true, and that's all important, so we need to teach that. But then here's some other things that they don't always throw in there. Like the thing about pets, I can't tell you how many seniors have done that. They get out of a burning house or apartment.
Not even just seniors.
And
just
then they go back in.
general.
Yeah, and then they go back in, looking for pets, which could be anywhere. But I think it was really important. Eric said to me, Tina, our experience, and this is what I'm going by. Eric's been a firefighter for a long time. Our experience is 99% of the time the pets are already out. They've gotten themselves
smart.
out. They scoot between, the firefighter's legs, and the firefighter doesn't even know as soon as the door opens. They're waiting. They know how to get out. So I think that was really important. I think Eric's point about making sure that you have your phone close to your bed. I mean, if you have a cell phone, there's no excuse when you go to bed at night. Put it right near you.
See, that's the thing. I was telling somebody that I think it was my son and my girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
Every night I have the same routine.
Okay.
My phone goes on a charger next to my bed.
Yep.
And my glasses go next to the phone.
Yes. Perfect.
And the remote for my bed and things like that. It's all lined up right there. It's not necessarily neat.
Yep.
But if it's 2:00 in the morning, I know where my stuff is.
Yep.
At least the basics to get out.
Yes. Yep. I agree. Well, I have to admit that I know exactly where my cell phone and my glasses are in my bedroom, but they're not right next to my bed. They're, they're on my dresser, which is at the end of my bed. I'm changing it tonight because there's no reason why. I got an outlet right next to my, right next to my, nightstand next to my bed. So I'm moving it tonight.
So the phone next to me came from when I was on call for 5 years, 24/7.
Yep.
When you're on call 24/7. You want to be able just to grab the phone.
No, I think that's really a great idea.
And it's never changed. And it also gets you in the habit of making sure your cell phone is charged, because I know a lot of people who don't charge their cell phones at night.
Yeah.
So if you have a disaster,
I charge my cell phone every night when I go to bed.
Right. So if you have a disaster or something, I have to remind people. I remind people in the windstorm and things like that.
Yeah.
Hey, put your phone on the charger right now.
Absolutely.
Because if you lose power, you're going to need something.
Yep.
And a lot of times for Christmas gifts, I bought those battery packs. Hey, charge the battery pack.
Yes.
At the same time.
Yep.
Because if you go an extended period of time without power, you'll at least have communications where you can dial 911 or get a hold of somebody if you need to go somewhere else, whatever.
Yep.
So
absolutely.
All those things, always.
Yep, absolutely. And we tell people, we've told people there are a lot of guidelines and laws regarding smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors. If you go to sell a house, you have to get the fire department involved. We say to people so that's the legal.
A lot of people don't realize they have to upgrade all their smoke detectors to sell in the house.
Yeah. Oh,
it has to be in compliance, and sometimes that can be a fair amount of money.
It's quite pricey. It is. It's quite pricey because the guidelines when you're selling a house, you have to have a detector within so many feet of every bedroom, one on each level. I mean, there are so many, out in the garage, in the basement. What we say to the seniors, at least for safety's sake, make sure you've got a smoke detector, carbon monoxide detector, and you can get them in combination. That's probably the easiest thing to do on at least one on each level of the house, right? That's for safety's sake. That's not you won't be able to sell your house that way because you're going to need more, but at least we know you're safe if you're up on the second floor sleeping, and as Eric pointed that out. And again, you can get the combination smoke detector and carbon monoxide detector, which in this day and age, that's the way I would go. And you know what? You can go to
and now they're a little bit more expensive, but I think the self-sealed ones, the 10-year ones, just you put them up and go. That's it.
And that's all you can get. Now in Massachusetts, that's law, Pete. So you can't get in Massachusetts. The law is you have to get exactly the one you talked about, where there's no battery changing. 10 years, you put it up and you forget about it for.
See,
10
mine
years.
Mine is electrically hardwired.
Mm-hmm.
And then it has the battery backup.
Yes, so Gary's and mine are the same.
And mine were, the landlord just replaced them about a year ago.
Yep.
Because they all started beeping.
Right. And you know what we did when COVID hit? The funny thing was everybody was, you're isolated at home, so you're looking for things to do. And so it was really funny because that had been on our to-do list for like 2 years, like replace all of the smoke detectors. So that's what we did. Gary said, there's no excuse. I have the time, got the ladder out. It took them a half a day because we have like a zillion. I mean, there's, 4 bedrooms and, one in the basement, one in the garage, one here, one there. I think we have like 13 detectors or something like that.
Yep.
And that is by law. So ours would be, I could put the house on the market and I think we'd be okay with the fire department. But at any rate, the combination ones are great, the carbon monoxide and smoke, as well as, as Pete said, the ones that are the lithium sealed. So it's 10 years. You don't have to worry about batteries. Mm-hmm. If you have an older detector, as long as if it's older than 10 years old, whether you put batteries in or not, it's probably not going to work.
Because the
and
detector,
you need to know that.
The actual thing that they use in the detector,
right, detect the smoke.
Some isotope breaks down or something, it doesn't work.
It just doesn't work after 10 years. So I think that's important for people to know, because if you're falsely thinking, well, my detectors are 20 years old, but I changed the batteries, except if they're 20 years old, as Pete said, they're probably not in working order anyway, so they need to be replaced. But if they are within that 10-year period and they still have batteries, make sure that those batteries are changed. And if you are a senior, do not get up on a ladder to do it. Have someone do it for you. Have one of your grandkids do it, or one of your kids, or a neighbor, but somebody who's a little bit more able, because I really don't want my seniors up on ladders changing the batteries in their smoke detectors. Okay, holy smokes, we got a lot. We're doing a lot today, Pete. It is. Let's take a little break so I can regroup here. It is 7:10. You're listening to 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC cable channel 15. When we come back, we'll do some announcements. We'll do some more birthdays. And today is Brown Bag Day, so I will be finishing up about 5 minutes early. So let's take a little break. We'll come back.
Love is a burning thing, and it makes a fiery ring. Bound by wild desire, I fell into a ring of fire. I fell into a burning ring of fire. I went down, 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 and the flames went higher. And it burns, 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 the ring of fire, the ring of fire. I fell into a burning ring of fire. I went down, 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 and the flames went higher. And it burns, 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 the ring of fire, the ring of fire. The taste of love is sweet when hearts like ours meet. I fell for you like a child. Oh, but the fire went wild. I fell into a burning ring of fire. I went down, 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 and the flames went higher. And it burns, 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 the ring of fire, the ring of fire. I fell into a burning ring of fire. I went down, 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 and the flames went higher. And it burns, 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 the ring of fire, the ring of fire. And it burns, 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 the ring of fire, the ring of fire, the ring of fire.
Underwriting is brought to you by Boise Cascade Distribution, providing products and services needed for building material dealers, home improvement centers, and industrial customers. They offer everything from engineered wood and plywood to Drex decking and railing, James Hardy siding, and Advantech subfloor. Located at 33 Fowler Street Extension in Westfield and on the web at bc.com, they are committed to providing quality products, great service, convenience, and value.
Listen to me, Michael Buster McMahon, Mondays 8 to 10 a.m. to learn the stories behind your favorite songs. Or don't. I'm not the boss of you.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 7:13. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC Cable Channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and I am in the studio this morning with the chairman of the board, producer Pete Coles. Good morning again, Pete.
Good morning.
So let's spend just a couple of minutes talking about the file of life, which looks like this. And I am still shocked that there are seniors out there, older adults in the community, who have never heard of the file of life, never mind, have one. So let's talk about what it is. This is a personal medical file. It's actually in a plastic case, and on the back there's a magnet, and this goes on your refrigerator. In the file of life is a card, and the card looks like this, so you can see what it looks like. So it's just a card, and it has on it your name and address, and your the name and address and phone number of your emergency contacts. It's got some basic medical data. There are questions. This is a newer card, so there are questions about whether or not you've been tested for COVID-19. If you have been, what were the results, so that they know when the first responders come if you've had COVID. Have you had a flu shot this year? Have you had a pneumonia vaccination this year? So those are some of those questions. There's a part for listing your medications, if you've had any recent surgeries, what your medical conditions are, and those you just check off. There's a whole laundry list here. You know, it might be pacemaker, stroke, coronary bypass graft, anything like that. You just check that off. Very simple. And if you have any allergies, so to any medications, and again, those are just check offs. So this doesn't take long
just
to fill
facts,
out.
Ma'am.
Just that's it. And then on the very bottom, your medical insurance. We always recommend that you fill this out in pencil because some of those things are going to change. Your medications might change. Your doctor, there's a place for your, who's your doctor and what's your preferred hospital. Do you prefer Bay State Noble, Mercy, Bay State, whatever. So this gets all filled out in pencil, put into this little plastic case with the magnet. It goes on your refrigerator. If you call 911 because of a medical emergency, this is the first place. Eric Bishop, and Eric has said this before. He said the first place the EMTs will look and the paramedics when they go into someone's house, the first thing they do is look on the refrigerator. And I have to compliment the residents at Hampden Village, way up there on the north side, because we did several years ago. Eric and I did a smoke detector blitz with the Red Cross, and we put up like 30, smoke detectors in like 30 different residences. And I had the file of life packet with me to give to whoever needed one. I would say 90% of the homes that we went into, I went in, looked on the refrigerator, and there it was. And they've done, Mary Lou Najalski and I were up there in November on what had to be the coldest, windiest day of the year. But that was the day we had all agreed we were going to do a curbside giveaway of the file of life. So and the other thing is, that's the big refrigerator one. There's another one. It's a smaller version, same thing. Okay, this one you fill out and you keep it in your wallet or you keep it in your purse so that if something happens at the senior center, we had an incident where we've had a couple incidents where people were taking fitness classes. In one case, a woman just did not feel well. She got into the middle of the class. She felt lightheaded. She sat down. We called 911, and Eric said to me later, because Eric was on that call, and he said to me later, if she had her file of life card, her mini card in her purse, it would have answered a lot of questions because she was non-responsive by the time the EMTs got there. So, they were wanting to know things like, what medication is she on? Has she had a stroke before? Because that's what we thought was happening. Actually, when I checked on her later in the day, I called her cell phone. Her husband answered. She was at the hospital. She had an emergency pacemaker put in that afternoon. So anyway, all good stuff, file of life. We will be giving these away on Wednesday, March 24th. curbside between 1 and 2 p.m. We'll be giving away the File of Life. We'll be giving away some cloth face masks. We still have some automatic night lights left from our safety event that we did back in October, so we'll be giving those away as well. There's no sign up for that. Again, that'll be in the Senior Center parking lot, March 24th. If by chance we have some fluky, crazy, inclement weather like a snowstorm, we'll do it the following week. And that is in the newsletter, so if you forget that, it's in the newsletter. So, File of Life, very important. Okay, a couple of other Senior Center announcements. We have our Lucky Leprechaun Curbside Luncheon coming up a week from today, because a week from today is St. Patrick's Day. It's a corned beef and cabbage dinner with carrots, potatoes, rye bread, and a yummy dessert that was donated by City Councilor Dave Flaherty. We have some Girl Scout cookies, and then we have some chocolates that were donated by the Westfield Police Department, so we're going to be putting together some goodie bag desserts. That meal is $5, and I apologize for that. Most of our meals are $3, but the cost of corned beef is pretty high this year, so we had to go up to $5 on this one. It is advance registration only, and I'm telling you this because I think that at last count we had about a dozen slots left, and that's it. There is a cap on this one, so if you're interested in signing up for that, you need to call Mary this morning and let her know that you would like to be on the list for the curbside Lucky Leprechaun Luncheon, and we're going to be giving away some fun door prizes and things like that. Want to remind our viewers and listeners that next Wednesday on this program is the third Wednesday of the month, and that means it's Diabetes Dialogue time. My guest will be Jennifer Jaffune. She facilitates that. We actually already had someone who called me this week who has a question that she would like Jen to address on the show next week, which Jen has already gotten that message, is looking up the answer, and will be happy to report back to us. So that's the way that works. Jen Jaffune facilitates the Diabetes Dialogue segment. She always has a topic that she's going to be discussing, and I'll tell you what that's going to be next week in just a moment. She usually comes on starting at about 7 o'clock, and she's here for about an hour. If you have questions ahead of time, you can either call me at the Senior Center and leave me a voicemail, which is what this woman did, or you can send me an email, or you can call the studio the morning of and ask your question, and Jen will be happy to answer it and address it on air. So the topic next week, which I think is really going to be a lot of fun, it's called What's for Dinner. Jen is going to be recommending cookbooks, magazines, and websites for people with diabetes. She's going to provide valuable tips on how to alter some of those tried and true recipes from your grandmother that have been handed down through your family, but how do you make them a little bit more diabetes friendly? She'll be talking about that. She'll talk about ideas for flavoring foods, cooking techniques, what's a better technique than others, food preparation guidelines, and ways to make your own convenience foods. And then she's also going to address, because I think this is really important, for those, how many of us say, you know what, I don't cook? I have seniors who just say, I don't cook. It might be men who are widowed and they were not the cooking type. Their wife did all the cooking, or it might just be someone who lives alone, or it might be, I have women who just never really got into the cooking thing. So Jen is going to talk about meal preparation. How can you prepare some diabetic friendly meals when you don't necessarily cook? So she's going to cover all of that. So I think it'll be a lot of fun, a lot of information. Again, that'll be next Wednesday. And again, if you have any questions that are outside of any of that, but just questions about diabetes management that you'd like Jen to address, you can either call her the morning of. We'll give out the phone number next week, or certainly you can call me and leave me a message, or send me an email, and I will make sure that Jen gets that ahead of time and addresses that issue. All right, great day for the Irish. We have songs from Hollywood Classics. That's our entertainment for March, and that will be starting this afternoon, right, Pete?
Yes.
Yes, so this afternoon at 2:40, our entertainer is Kevin Farley. Kevin is not a stranger to Westfield. He's actually from Maine. He lives up in Maine, but he used to traverse the New England states.
You've had him on for his book too.
I had him on for his book.
Yeah.
He was a guest on this show about 3 or 4 years ago because he wrote a book. So we had him on for the book. He's been at the Senior Center. He was at the old Senior Center almost every year. And was a favorite. So he has done a program for us for the month of March. So that will be aired Wednesday afternoons and Saturday evenings at 6 o'clock.
Maybe you'll see it here and there.
And wherever else Pete can throw it in there throughout the month of March. So tune into Kevin's performance. I think that'll be great. We have a new Zumba Gold fitness class that's being offered that we started this month. Becca Perrone is doing that one, and that is offered on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 10:30 in the morning. So if you've been doing the Zumba Gold program right along during the pandemic, you have some new routines to learn. So you can check that out. We're also, the technology support for seniors program is gaining a lot of traction. We have students here at Westfield Technical Academy in the technology department who are walking seniors through their new smartphones, iPads, tablets, laptops, desktops, you name it. If you have questions about that, maybe you got something new, maybe your family decided you needed an iPad, but you don't know how to use it because you've never owned one. This is a great program. You can call us at the Senior Center. Mary Lou coordinates that program. Just let her know that you want to schedule a session with one of the students. They do everything over the telephone, and we're getting really good feedback about this program. The students are really marvelous about taking it one step at a time, nice and slowly for you, walking through, answering your questions. So again, if you have technology support needs, just give us a call at the Senior Center, and we would be happy to help you out with that. I mentioned before, and I will mention it again, today is our brown bag food distribution program. I want to remind people because we still have people calling and asking, before the COVID pandemic hit, brown bag was always on a Tuesday. In fact, what happens is the food is delivered on the second Tuesday of the month, but we don't distribute it until the next day. So food distribution for brown bag is
not like you don't have anything else going on over there.
Well, you know what the problem, Pete, is that the food is delivered at like any time between 9:30 and 10:30, and curbside lunch is starting at 11.
Right.
So there's no time in between. So this has worked out really well, and for the most part, I think everybody pretty much gets it now. So the brown bag program is always the Wednesday after the second Tuesday of the month. I always put the schedule in the newsletter for the next 3 months. So in the March newsletter, we have the schedule for March, April, and May. So you can put those dates right on your calendar ahead of time. And then I just update them every month. So we just go 3 months at a time. And I'll do one more announcement before we take a little break. I just want to remind folks that coming up in about a month from now, Saturday, April 17th, CSF of Westfield is hosting their annual document shred day, which I know people are very excited about because we've gotten lots of phone calls. Last year they had to cancel it because the pandemic was so new to us. But now we know what to do. We do the flow. So that will be in the Senior Center parking lot. It's a Saturday morning from 9 to noon or until the truck fills up. So whichever comes first. It's a $5 donation for every box that you bring, and that goes to CSF scholarships that are right here for Westfield students. So that stays right here in Westfield. No early birds, please. But of course, because of the pandemic, there are some rules that we have to follow. First of all, you absolutely need to wear a face mask, whether you've been vaccinated or not. Wear a face mask when you come through the line. You're going to stay in your vehicle at all times. All materials, any of the boxes that you're bringing have to be accessible in your trunk or your truck bed or cargo area, not in the front seat of your car, but in your trunk. And you're going to, pop the trunk or give them the keys. They'll open the trunk and get those boxes out. And please pay with an exact amount. They're not going to be giving out change. If you are sick, if you are awaiting COVID test results, please don't come. We can't
Send somebody else.
Stress that enough, and it's always the case now. If you're not feeling well, especially if you have any COVID-like symptoms, please stay home. All right, it is 7:28. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses on WCPC cable channel 15. We're going to take a short break, and we will be back.
Support for community radio on WSKB is provided by Betts Plumbing and Heating Supply Company, an independent, family-owned wholesaler serving Westfield for over 50 years, specializing in plumbing, heating, and industrial piping supplies. On the web at betsplumbing.com or at 14 Coleman Avenue in Westfield.
I'm Mark Auerbach. Join me every Friday at 8 a.m. for Arts Beat, where you'll meet interesting actors, directors, designers, and musicians here in Western New England.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 7:33. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM, radio for the Westfield masses, and WCPC Cable Channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and Pete Coles is in the studio with me. Good morning again, Pete.
Good morning.
So let's turn to something a little lighter. Let's do a few birthdays here. So It is March 10th, and on this date in 1940 in Los Angeles, California, Dean Torrance was born. He's a singer, graphic artist. He's 81 years old today, and he was one half of the popular 1960s surf music singing duo Jan and Dean, who enjoyed chart success with songs including Surf City, Little Old Lady from Pasadena, Popsicle, and Drag City. So Torrance met future singing partner Jan Berry at University High School in West Los Angeles, and they began singing doo-wop style tunes with a variety of groups, but they had limited success. However, fortune came their way when early in 1963, they were booked to play several shows with the Beach Boys, and Berry struck up a friendship with songwriter Brian Wilson. Wilson passed across to Berry an unfinished tune titled Surf City. So that originally was supposed to be done by the Beach Boys, which Jan Berry and Dean Torrance completed and recorded. It became their first #1 single. Jan and Dean immediately changed their future musical output solely to surf music, and their album sales performed very strongly over the next 3 years. However, on April 12, 1966, Jan Berry, who was the other half of the duo, was critically injured in a motor vehicle accident, and he was actually initially thought dead at the scene of the crash. After being taken to the hospital, it took him many years to recover and learn how to walk and talk again. So that left Dean Torrance with, just half of the duo. So he stopped performing, but he started his own company called Kitty Hawk Graphics, and he designed record album covers and became very successful and designed some covers for some very famous singers. So
cool.
So he kind of, made lemonade out of a lemon. So happy 81st birthday to Dean Torrance, and we will absolutely have to listen to Little Old Lady from Pasadena in a few minutes. It is also the birthday of the late Lillian Wald, who was a nurse and humanitarian. She was born on this date in 1867 in Cincinnati, Ohio, died in 1940 at the age of 73. Lillian Wald was an American nurse, humanitarian, and author. She was known for contributions to human rights and was the founder of American Community Nursing. Wald worked for a time at the New York Juvenile Asylum, which was an orphanage where conditions were very poor. In 1893, she began teaching a home class on nursing for poor immigrant families on New York's Lower East Side. Shortly thereafter, she began to care for sick Lower East Side residents as a visiting nurse, and that was actually kind of a new concept. Around that time, Wald coined the term public health nurse to describe nurses whose work is integrated into the public community. She advocated for nurses in public schools. Her ideas led the New York Board of Health to organize the first public nursing system in the world. She was the first president of the National Organization for Public Health Nursing, and she established a nursing insurance partnership with Metropolitan Life that became a model for many other corporate projects. Lillian Wald suggested a national health insurance plan and helped to found the Columbia University School of Nursing. So she did a lot in her 73 years. She never married because, I was looking at that going, holy smokes. I mean, she was quite the woman of her time.
Sure.
How did she manage all that? Well, partly because she wasn't married, didn't have any children, and really devoted her life to the whole profession of nursing, but more importantly to community nursing, and that was kind of a new concept. So Happy birthday to a really cool woman. It is also the birthday, this one has a little personal sentimentality for me. It is the birthday of the late Leon Bismarck Biederbeck, who was a jazz cornetist, pianist, and composer. His nickname was Bix. And when Gary and I lived in Davenport, Iowa, Gary used to run it was a kind of a grueling road race. I think it was 7 miles, but there was a lot of hills, and it was called the Bix 7. Well, it was named after Bix Biederbeck because he was born in Davenport, Iowa. But the interesting thing is he was born in March 10th, 1903. He died August 6th, 1931. He was only 28 years old. But if you look this guy up, like in any of the music websites, there are just like pages and pages of information. He was really considered an amazing, sort of pioneer in the jazz world. He was the first white rival to the black pioneers of jazz, and he became one of the most influential jazz soloists of the 1920s, a cornet player noted for an inventive lyrical approach and purity of tone, with such clarity of sound that one contemporary famously described it like shooting bullets at a bell. I kept reading that every time I looked this guy up. They were commenting of his sounded like shooting bullets at a bell. It was so clear. His solos demonstrate a gift for extended improvisation, which is kind of a hallmark of jazz if you're a jazz lover, and that heralded the jazz ballad style. Bix also played the piano, and he was a notable composer. His cornet solo in Singing the Blues was the chief inspiration behind Hoagy Carmichael's Stardust. And I know a lot of people are familiar with that. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, Biederbeck was one of the first of the modern musicians to self-destruct through alcoholism, and he died at the age of 28. He was very young. But anyway,
Wow.
Happy birthday. Yeah, really young. And it was amazing that so much was written about him in his short life in terms of what he did musically during his 20s. So pretty amazing. It is also the birthday of the late James Earl Ray, who was a thief, but later turned assassin. He was born March 10th, 1928 in Alton, Illinois, and died in 1998 at the age of 70. A confirmed racist and small-time criminal, James Earl Ray began plotting the assassination of revered civil rights leader Martin Luther King in early 1968. Whatever the exact details were that led him to Memphis in April of 68, Ray rented a room at a rooming house under the name Eric Starvo Galt near the Lorraine Motel, which is where Martin Luther King was staying. And on April 4th, 1968, James Earl Ray stood in the bathtub of the bathroom, balanced his rifle on a window ledge, and shot King as the civil rights leader was standing on a balcony outside of his motel room. After shooting King, Ray immediately fled, setting off a manhunt that would last more than 2 months and cover 5 countries. At the time, it was said to be the FBI's most expensive and biggest investigation in its history. Finally, on July 19th of that year, the FBI caught up with Ray in London and extradited him to the United States. He pleaded guilty to the murder, something he'd spend the rest of his life trying to reverse, and was sentenced to 99 years in prison. In the years following James Earl Ray's arrest, questions arose about his exact involvement in the King's murder. Ray himself countered that he was not the only one involved in the crime, and even a 1978 special congressional committee said there was likelihood that Ray did not act alone. So there you have it. I'm always curious when these things happen, like what drives people to do that. But there really weren't a lot of answers on that one.
Yeah, right.
On what his thing was. Nor it wasn't like he was a killer. I mean, he was kind of basically a petty theft. He had, spent time in and out of jail, but there really wasn't a lot to point to why, he felt that he needed to do this. All right, March 10th, on a lighter note, is National Pack Your Lunch Day. So National Pack Your Lunch Day on March 10th encourages everyone across the country to take their lunch to work, school, or wherever they're spending the day. It's an opportunity to revitalize lunchtime with fresh and healthy meal choices. Packing your lunch has benefits that you may not expect. One of the immediate benefits, of course, is cost savings. Many home-prepared lunches cost less than ordering off the takeout menu or eating out. Another benefit of making your own lunch is controlling both your portion sizes as well as what you're eating. By adding fruits, vegetables, and whole grains to your lunches, they will be healthier too. While some foods pack well for lunch, others don't fare as well. So if you're new to packing lunches, here's a starter list for you. So here's some things that you can do. And I think I always love this because when I was a kid, I grew up in the 60s, and lunch was a sandwich and a piece of fruit. And if you were lucky, mom would pack like a cookie. And I think at the age of like 7 or 8 is when, my mother said, okay, you're old enough to pack your own lunches. So, but it was always the same thing, it was always sandwich. And I'm not a big sandwich person, so lunch was not great for me. And we didn't really think to be creative. And now, and plus now they have all these great containers and all kinds of things. So hard-boiled eggs, they provide a serving of protein. You can peel them and place them in a separate little, Tupperware plastic container. Fresh vegetables, you can choose a dipping sauce. Put your dipping sauce in another little sealed container, and you could put your fresh veggies in a Ziploc bag. You can choose things like carrot sticks, celery sticks, sliced cucumbers, cherry tomatoes. I like radishes. I throw some of those in. You could have some broccoli. So any of those pack really well. Fruit, you can have whole fruit, like an apple, an orange, or a banana. Yogurt, that provides you with your serving of dairy, and there's some protein in that as well. Salad, you can have regular salad. You can throw on some deli meats. Just put your dressing in a separate container and take that out when you take your salad out. Cheese, crackers, you can do small containers of things like nuts and trail mix, grapes, berries, little container of applesauce, that packs well. I have cottage cheese and a banana, and I throw some cinnamon and granola in there, and those all pack well. You can have a protein bar. So there are so many options now for packing your lunch. Yeah. The only thing that you do want to remember is to pack a gel pack to keep your food chilled until lunchtime. Even if you're bringing leftovers and you're going to, microwave them, just make sure that during the day they're in a gel pack. And, now it's so funny because I can remember as kids, I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, we would have like bologna and tuna fish salad, and you'd throw it in your locker for the morning, which was, and we didn't have cold packs back then. I'm surprised we all didn't like die of botulism or something. But anyway, make sure that you include a cold pack in with your lunch. You can get them anywhere. You can get them at the grocery store, pharmacies, the dollar store. Easy to get. All right. A couple more announcements, and then I'm going to bag out a little bit early today. First of all, we have some small storage boxes available, and I put this in the newsletter. You can pick them up on Friday. I will tell you that we do this box giveaway because we get boxes through the Brown Bag program. So they're bagging they have the bags of food, but then they're putting multiple bags in these boxes. So every month we have lots of boxes. So we've been giving those away because the nice thing about these boxes is they're all the same size. So if you're looking for uniform boxes that you can stack, these are perfect. But they do keep switching the boxes on us. So initially we got ones with fold-down lids. So we got those for a few months. We gave those away. Then they started giving us a little bit of a bigger size with handles. And so that's what we've had for about 6 months. And we just got our brown bag delivery yesterday. So these boxes do not have handles, and they are a little smaller, but they are also a lot sturdier. They're like perfect if you want to box up books or, record albums or something that's kind of on the heavier side. And again, they're all uniform in size. So we will be giving those away on Friday. What we do is we just put them out on the porch area near the front door, so that if it's raining or sprinkly, they're not going to get wet. And you can come drive up and take as many as you want. Drive up time is between 9 and 10 in the morning. And then if there are any left, between 1 and 3 in the afternoon. I will tell you, though, for the most part, this has been a very popular program. And usually they're gone in the morning. We don't usually have any more to put out in the afternoon. So they're out there until the supply runs out. And, we put them out every month. So there you have it. But again, I do apologize. These will not have the nifty handles in them, but they are very sturdy. Okay, I also want to make a pitch for being very careful, with all the vaccine stuff that's happening now. This is also a wonderful opportunity for scam artists to jump on the bandwagon. And so we are now seeing an uptick in COVID-19 vaccine scams. So first of all, especially in Massachusetts, because we have this buddy system where if somebody drives you to your vaccination appointment, they too can be vaccinated, and we're calling them a buddy. That's fine. The purpose of that was if the buddy is, one of your children or one of your grandchildren or a close friend, or maybe your, maybe your home health aide or your homemaker or somebody that comes in like that. That's a buddy. A buddy is not somebody who calls you out of the blue and says, hey, do you need a vaccine? I'll be your buddy and I'll take you. And by the way, in order to do that, you need to pay me, or you need to give me, your medical information so I can sign you up. Do not give out any information to anybody that you do not know. I mean, that's really, really important. Don't give out your personal, your medical, or your financial information to someone who claims to either be from the government, a vaccine center, or a medical office with which you are not familiar. Now, if someone is helping you to register for the vaccine, if it's someone from the senior center, if it's someone like from your doctor's office who you know, that's fine. You can work with them and give them the information they need. But if it's somebody who says, I'm calling from a vaccine site, the vaccine sites are not calling you. They don't have the time. They don't have the time. Do not give out the information. If somebody says, I'm calling you from, the state of Massachusetts, they don't have the time either. They're not calling you. Do not give out any of that information. It's real. I am so incensed about this because, scams in general. But you know what? It's taking advantage of people who are older and really feel desperate, this desperate need to get the vaccine right away. Mm-hmm. Again, I'm going to caution you, if you want the vaccine, you will have a chance to get it. I promise you that, but it may not be for a few weeks and maybe even not for another month or two, but you can get it. But do not give out information to people who are preying on your desperation to get vaccinated immediately, because the chances are they're not legitimate, and you're really going to be opening up a whole can of worms with giving out, your information, which now leads to identity theft.
Hey, listen, I just traveled this past, couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
My stay in New Jersey, I checked a credit card that I hadn't used in a long time, and there was a chair. This is how I know where it got stolen.
Okay.
But there was a $4.95 for a New Jersey bus pass.
Okay.
2 Amazon or 2 Target online purchases, which I don't make. I haven't shopped at Target in forever.
Yeah.
And then there was a pending charge of over $90 to Walmart.
Okay.
I just happened to notice this. So my card got cloned somewhere in New Jersey.
Yep.
The card never left my possession.
Yeah.
So It's not hard to do.
No, it's not hard to do. Now, Grace, it was interesting. Grace asked her boyfriend for Christmas. You can get the sleeves now to put your credit cards in. So
RFID. I have that. My new wallet is RFID.
Yep.
I laughed with the girl when I was talking to her on the customer service. I just bought an RFID wallet when I came home because I needed a new wallet.
Yeah, I got Gary one for Christmas. So can you explain, Pete? Because I think some of our listeners aren't going to know what that means.
So if you have the chip in your phone, the slide-in chip.
Yep.
That's actually a chip that the reader sends a little bit of energy to, and gets information back via RF. That's how it reads it. And a lot of the credit cards have that chip now in them.
Yep.
So scammers potentially could be walking by you.
Yep.
And I didn't have a lot of exposure. That was the other thing.
Yeah.
Scammers can be walking by you, have a scanner in their pocket, and it's just putting out a signal and looking for returns.
Yep.
And whatever they get, they use.
Yeah, so you don't have to take the credit card out of your purse or your wallet.
Nope.
Nobody has to grab it out of your hand. They can walk by you with this scanner type thing.
Yep.
So there are.
I did not use it my entire trip,
Yeah.
and yet right after my trip, I came back from New Jersey, the New Jersey leg of the trip, there was charges.
Yep. Yeah, it's so easy nowadays. So,
yeah,
so as Pete said, I actually bought Gary one of those wallets for Christmas. So the whole wallet is, if anything that's inside of it, those scanners are not going to be able to read those. So something, again, I look at some of these things and I think, now that's a practical gift to get an older person for Christmas or a birthday or whatever, when you talk about things that are, I also recommend getting them smoke detectors and putting them up for them and, things like that. So be practical. But thanks for sharing that, Pete. But again, please be very, very wary. Do not fall into the vaccine, scam trap, because you're really opening yourself up for a lot. All right, Pete, I got to book a little early today because we do have brown bag between 9 and 10 this morning. For those of you who receive your brown bag through us, please be respectful of that time because we close up shop at exactly 10 o'clock because we got to get in, finish getting ready for lunch distribution, and then get back out there. Do not come, at 2 o'clock in the afternoon and say, hey, I'm here for my brown bag because, we're busy answering the phone and doing all the other stuff that we have to do. So our days are getting longer and longer. So we ask that you please be respectful of that time frame. Have a great week. Next week, Jen Jaffoon will be on. We'll be talking diabetes dialogue, and we'll be talking a lot about recipes and healthy recipes and food preparation. And it's not just for those with diabetes. These are all great tips for anyone. As a matter of fact, Jen has said to me on numerous occasions, she has counseled her clients when they're looking to lose some weight or whatever, and they'll say, well, what's the best diet? She'll always say, you know what, if you follow a diabetic lifestyle diet, you're going to do just fine. So tune in next week. Jen will be with us starting at 7 o'clock. Pete, have a great week. We'll see you then.
It's the little old lady from Pasadena.